Here's the problem Rick and Morty keep shoving in our faces. The smartest guy in the multiverse is miserable, and his sidekick learns that meaning beats IQ the hard way. Every season keeps poking the same bruise. Being clever doesn't save you from emptiness, and sometimes it makes the hole wider. We open in the pilot with Rick dragging Morty out of bed, drunk, mumbling about blowing up the world like that's a normal grandpa hobby. He takes Morty to Dimension 35C to smuggle giant megaseeds through interdimensional customs insert TSA anxiety, now with body horror. Rick solves every problem with a gadget and zero empathy, and the result is Morty getting publicly cavity searched by a robot. That's the baseline. Intelligence gets you out of any trap, but it doesn't keep you from being the guy who set the trap, ruined dinner, and called it a lesson. Back at school, Morty tries to pass math class, while his grandfather argues that school is a dumb construct for small minds. Rick weaponizes logic like a bat, and he's not wrong that systems can be pointless. But it's not exactly a life philosophy you can hug at night. Watching Morty wobble between homework and cosmic contraband sets, the tone brain power may outplay the world, yet it can't tell you why getting out of bed should feel worth it. Me Seeks and Destroy hammers that home with a blue box that spits out creatures whose only purpose is to complete a task, then die happy. Jerry asks for help shaving 2 strokes off his golf game, because of course he does. And the Me Seeks descend into agony when they can't achieve it. They're actual beings designed for clear purpose, and lack of progress makes them spiral into violence and philosophy, aka they become Twitter. Meanwhile, Rick and Morty go on a consequence-free adventure that devolves into a near execution. The joke is mean and obvious. A purpose, even a silly one, can be the difference between contentment and chaos. And intelligence that mocks purpose leaves you standing in rubble, clutching a golf club. Then comes Rick Potion number 9, the first time the universe collects interest on Rick's smugness. Rick cooks up a love potion for Morty that piggybacks on the flu because whistling past ethics makes you fast and funny until it doesn't. The whole planet mutates into Cronenberg nightmares because romance is complicated and biohacking is not a love language. Rick can't fix it, so he hops to a timeline where he and Morty conveniently die, buries their bodies in the backyard, and calls it Tuesday. The solution is brilliant. The cost is you can't look at your shovel without wanting to scream. Morty doesn't break, not then. He calcifies. That's how the show treats intelligence. You get good at cutting off the infected limb, but you lose fingers you didn't mean to. Morty's face while he digs is the thesis survival keeps beating meaning in the moment, and it leaves a scar that no IQ score can buff out. Rick's D-Minutes follows with the stupid brilliance of interdimensional cable pure improv TV from Infinite Realities. On the surface, it's comedy chaos, but underneath, it's a test of meaning against possibility. Beth and Jerry peek at a life where they never had kids, and for a second they seem lighter, cooler, shinier. Then it all tastes like diet freedom. Good at first sip, weird after. They realize their messy, normal life has a texture to it. The highlight reel doesn't. It's not thrilling, but it's real, and sometimes real wins by being here when the credits roll. Summer finds out she was almost an abortion and decides to bounce. Morty pulls her into the backyard and shows her 2 graves like he's giving a tour of trauma. He tells her nobody exists on purpose, nobody belongs anywhere, everybody's gonna die, so come watch TV. It lands like a hug and a slap. He's offering a meaning that's small and durable. We choose each other right now. It's not enlightenment, it's a blanket and a dumb commercial about a fake movie, and that's enough tonight. Then close Rick counters of the Rick kind flexes the word smart until it snaps. We meet the Council of Ricks and HOA for God-tier narcissists policing the multiverse to protect their brand. Rick, allegedly the Rickest Rick, gets framed, And the whole episode screams that you can be the smartest carbon copy in a maze made of your own face and still be painfully alone. Evil Morty slips in, quiet and patient, because intelligence without meaning isn't just sad, it's dangerous. If your heart's empty, your brain becomes a lockpick. Season 2 opens with time frozen because the Smiths trashed their house after a party they weren't supposed to throw. A rickle in time fractures into multiple timelines from pure indecision. It's not a giant evil or a monstrous alien, it's anxiety doing bicep curls until it rips the room apart. That's another quiet shot at raw intellect. If you don't know what matters, every path is wrong and time itself gets annoyed. But the gut punch is autoerotic assimilation. Rick reunites with Unity, a hive mind ex who literally controls entire civilizations and still texts him back. At first, it's cosmic hedonism stadiums chanting his name, bodies morphing to fit the vibe, traffic laws dissolving on sight. Rick can stimulate a planet into loving him, and he still can't be known. Unity realizes that when Rick's around, she becomes her worst self. Indulgent, reckless, a sugar high with no breakfast. She leaves him a letter so raw it feels illegal to read, and she's gone when he turns the corner. Then Rick cleans the garage, turns on music, and builds a death machine out of household items and every bad memory he pretends he doesn't have. The laser inches toward his face, and for once, he's still. He stops it at the last second, but the message is already burned into the counter. If intelligence is the ultimate freedom, it's also the fastest way to isolate yourself from anyone who could tell you when to put the bottle down. Unity loved him enough to quit him. Rick's brain can conquer worlds, and it can't conquer the echo in that garage. If this kind of bleak little truth bomb wrapped in sci-fi candy hits you in the ribs the way it hits me, stick around. I break this show down piece by piece, from the jokes that made you snort to the scenes that made you stare at the ceiling. Tap subscribe so you don't miss the next spiral, because we're only getting to the part where Morty grows teeth and Rick starts pretending he didn't. So Morty starts growing canines right after Unity bails, and Rick faceplants into that garage silence. Season 2 doesn't give him a gentle runway, it throws him into total rickle, where happy memories turn out to be parasites, and the only way to tell who's real is by taste testing pain. It's bleak and kind of genius. If you've suffered with someone, they're probably real. All that brainy sci-fi about memory and identity boils down to one dumb, true thing. Real bonds leave scars, and scars beat perfect sunshine every time. Then Get Swifty tries to sell us Rick the Rockstar, and Morty's the only one who reads the label. Giant heads demand a cosmic talent show. Rick treats it like open mic night for his ego, and the planet goes cult mode. Morty peels off, stumbles into Bird Person's house, and learns the translation for Wubba Lubba Dub Dub is I am in great pain. The guy with the smartest mouth in the room is basically screaming help in a dead language. Morty goes back to Rick because now he sees the crack under the swagger, and for a second, caring outruns cool. The Ricks must be crazy is where Morty's teeth stop being baby teeth. Rick's car won't start because he's enslaved an entire microverse to run his battery. Then that microverse makes a tinier verse to dodge the work. And pretty soon you've got labour ethics stacked like nesting dolls. Rick calls it efficiency. Morty calls it out. There's this perfect little moment where Morty just stands there while an alien janitor realizes his life is meaningless. And you can see Morty's face say, I came for an adventure. I got a morality collapse. Brains can power your car, but not your conscience. Tiny Rick is Rick's purest self-own wrapped in a pep rally. He body hops into Teen Rick to avoid sitting in a therapist's chair, and for about 11 minutes he's the coolest kid in school, shredding in the cafeteria and vibing like depression got patched out. But those angsty little songs leak the truth. Help me, I am stuck in a teenage rock shell, and Summer's the one who hears it. That's the pattern. Intellect covers the wound with a clever costume, family peels it back and the wound hisses. Look Who's Purging Now is Morty's dark mirror, and it's ugly on purpose. He starts off Mr. Morals, lecturing Rick about the Purge planet like he didn't just watch his grandpa power a car with slavery and then one bite of rage candy. Later he's mowing down a village like he's speedrunning a villain origin. He crashes back to himself, blood-spattered and shaking, stammering about a chemical reaction. And Rick, who should be the example, hands him a rinse and forget like it's mouthwash. Teeth grown, lesson learned the worst way. Intelligence can justify anything, and feelings don't evaporate just because you decide to be above them. Wedding Squanchers closes the season with Rick doing something shockingly, painfully human. They go to Bird Person's wedding, it turns into a federal raid, the family's dead to rights, and Rick, who could portal away, who always portals away, turns himself in so the rest can go home. He doesn't give a speech, he doesn't make a big brain play, he just sits in shackles and takes it. And because this show hates easy hope, the quiet heroism doesn't fix him. The garage gets quieter, the family gets weirdly grateful and sad at the same time. Hey, if you've ever told yourself you don't care while accidentally doing the most caring, stick with me. This show keeps poking that bruise, and we're about to hit the stretch where Morty stops asking permission, and Rick pretends permission was never part of the equation anyway. If that tug of war between head and heart feels familiar, hit like so I know I'm not the only one doom-laughing my way through it. Season 3 kicks the door down with the Rickshank Rickdemption. Rick jailbreaks himself through layers of mind-hacking, burns the Galactic Federation's economy to the ground by adjusting a decimal, and turns the Citadel into rubble because Tuesdays are slow. It's an intellect fireworks show, and it ends with him back in the garage bragging about a 9-season arc and chicken nugget sauce, like none of it mattered. Jerry's gone, the family's cracked, and he's beaming like winning the chess game negates that he was playing with people. Morty watches him like you watch a magician who won't admit the rabbit hates the hat. Vindicators 3 should have been Rick's victory lap. Instead, Morty flexes. Rick gets blackout vindictive and Saw traps an entire superhero team out of spite, and Morty is the one defusing bombs because he knows exactly how Rick thinks when he's drunk and mean. That's teeth. That's knowing someone so well you can navigate their worst night like GPS. But it's also tragic, because being fluent in someone's damage is not the same as being happy with them. Pickle Rick is the thesis taped to a cucumber. Rick literally turns himself into a pickle to dodge family therapy, then survives by brute intellect. Ratsuit, duct tape, a stairwell of mercenaries, and still walks into Dr. Wong's office drenched in victory and no closer to being okay. She hands him the blueprint he refuses to read. Intelligence makes tools, it doesn't make meaning. The family sits there awkwardly, admitting they're a mess, and Rick tries to neg the whole session like owning the room will fix the hole in his chest. It doesn't. He lives. He's not better. Rest and Ricklaxation pokes Morty's growth with a needle and pulls out the gunk. A detox machine strips away toxicity, and Morty becomes this glossy, high-functioning success story cool hair, hot dates, big deals. While Rick goes genius sociopath turned up to 11, then the twist lands. The things Morty called toxic were also the parts that cared. He doesn't want to lose his empathy just to feel efficient, and he doesn't want Rick's cold purity even if it means infinite wins. He picks messy, feeling Morty. That's meaning, not clean, not optimized, yours. By now the pattern's loud. Rick keeps proving he's the smartest person in the room, and the room keeps emptying out. Morty keeps mistaking hardness for strength, then slamming his own brakes when he sees where that road goes. You can stack universes inside batteries, you can beat every hero on their own show, but when the adventure stops, the echo's still there. And every time Morty grows another tooth, Rick pretends he didn't notice the bite. So the next turn in this little death spiral is when Rick and Morty literally purge their toxicity and think that means they're better. It's a perfect trap. The smarter they feel, the dumber they act. Clean Rick decides love for Morty was just chemical sludge, and Clean Morty decides empathy was holding him back. Picture a spa day that ends with your soul dry cleaned so hard you forget why you ever cared, then realize the stain was the point. The lesson slaps the same way every time. You can bleach out the mess, but you also bleach out the meaning. Then we cut to the Citadel, because of course there's an entire civilization of Ricks who thought cloning themselves into a government would fix loneliness. It's an empire built on the punchline that genius is scalable, just stack more brains on the problem and call it a city. You've got worker Mortys getting graded like produce, cop Ricks shaking down alley Mortys, and campaign ads where a calm Morty promises something more than being a chew toy. Watching President Evil Morty win feels like your GPA just overthrew you. He doesn't want hugs, he wants the machine to stop lying. Meanwhile, back home, Rick's running a DIY memory clinic where any moment that makes their bond too complicated gets shelved in a glowing tube. Morty has an entire library of times he stood up, broke down, or simply noticed that Rick's armor has seams, and Rick just control plus zid it. Intellect as eraser. You can't build meaning if you edit out every crack, and yet that's exactly what he tries, perfect continuity, where the feelings never get to accumulate into something true. It works, right up until you realize fake peace and real emptiness look identical from far enough away. Season 4 opens with Rick finding a perfect isolated toilet, and yes, somehow this is the most honest he's ever been. He monologues to a bathroom like it's a confessional, fights a sad, polite man who keeps trying to be his friend, and at the end sets up an elaborate theatre to prove he doesn't need anyone. It's petty and cruel, but underneath is a guy terrified that if he lets one person matter, he'll have to matter back. Poop jokes on the surface, existential dread in the plumbing. If you've ever defended a dumb hill just to avoid admitting you were lonely, hey, you're among friends here. Hit like if you've built your own Do Not Disturb sign out of sarcasm and then wondered why no one knocks. The show even turns itself into a literal toy commercial on a story train, because why not roast your own narrative? Rick and Morty ride a machine that monetizes arcs, where meaning is whatever you can jam into a genre slot and pre-sell to yourself. They try to speedrun catharsis and hit a wall labelled Theme Park Q. It's brutal and funny, and also kind of the whole point. Intellect can explain meaning, but it can't impersonate it. You can design a perfect track, but you still end up going in circles if you never step off. And then Rick invents a fake progress save point just to teach Morty consequences in the pettiest masterclass of all time. Morty thinks he found a shortcut to bravery, and in a few button presses he's a walking trail of wreckage, a love story, a plane crash, and an avalanche of guilt stacked between two beeps. Rick's got the smug grin of a teacher who swapped the test key at the last minute, but even he can't hide the hollowness. When your lesson plan is humiliation, all you're proving is that you ran out of better ideas. The family hits their weirdest form of healing with Space Beth. Rick refuses to reveal which Beth is the clone because he claims it doesn't matter. And for once, that might be the least wrong thing he says. They pick each other without the answer sheet, choosing presence over certainty, and it lands because it's messy. The show parks a starship in the driveway and then quietly hands you something truer. Sometimes meaning only shows up when you stop needing to be right. Then there's Bird Person, comatose and broken, and Rick, who would jump into hell for a buddy as long as no one calls it love. He crawls through Bird Person's memories and stumbles into his own, his sincerity caught on tape, his failed pitch for a life that wasn't all war and portals. No quip can cover how much he cares in there. He knows minds inside and out, and still can't fix the part that aches. All he can do is stay, which happens to be the only thing that ever counted. Morty finally pushes back in a way you can't memory wipe. He burns Rick's portal gun fluid trying to impress a cooler version of himself, and it turns their codependency into a splash zone. Rick swaps